Right, so we talk about Unit 2. Like I said, we're going to focus on, whoops, we're going to focus on hold on. Okay, so we're going to focus on what we're going to do, how we're going to organize data. That's what the focus for this lesson. Okay, the one thing that we'll look at is the graph frequency distribution in the graph. So we're going to look at frequency tables. So frequency table can be numbers. So think about the project that we did earlier. We split it up into groups, and then we say how many people refer and belong to this group, and we tell that values. That is the frequency. But sometimes it's really hard for us to say, to split up into like a specific number. Sometimes we have to come up with the classes or interval. That is, I believe, one of your group was talking about how many hours that you spent on Hulu versus Netflix, right? And then you said from 0 to 5 hours and then 6 to 10. You actually did the frequency table using the classes and the interval. That is the frequency table when you split them up that way. So a couple of things we're going to focus is we look at the table, we look at how often someone refer certain group. That's what we're looking at. The frequency is the number of data entry is like how many people. And we'll take a look at the example, which make a little bit more sense. All right. So like I said, I'm recording my lessons. So hopefully that you can go back and watch it. So Francisco, the link is in the chat for you, right? Okay, so this is a frequency table. So like I said, I think it's best if you have a piece of paper, a notebook, and take notes. Or you want to use Pear Deck, you have that iPad, you have that working for you, whatever the system working for you, and that's fine. So frequency table, we're going to split it up into 2 columns, okay? The first one is the class. I'm going to highlight this one. Or what we call is the interval, right? The interval is telling you a group. So the class is what you can think of is like a group. We split it up into group, right? So the class we can think of, like think about at NTA or any high school, we talk about classes. We have the freshman class, we have the sophomore, we have the junior, and we have the seniors. And then the frequency is how many sophomore, how many seniors, how many juniors is in that class or in that group. So that's the frequency, tell how many. So a couple of things that I want you to think about right now. We're going to have these are the definition that you need to look at. The first one is the lower class limit. The lower class limit is the number, the first values, is the first values of that class. So that is the lower limit. The lower limit will be these values. The one on the left side, those are my lower limit. So for the class, you go from lower limit to higher limit. That's mean you go from the low values to high values. So lower class limit, those are the values. Okay. The next one you should know is the upper class limit. Anyone want to guess which values represent the upper class limit? If the first values is my lower class limit, do you want to guess my upper class limit will be which values? 26? No. So all of these, I'm going to highlight this. All of these values are my lower class limit, the first number for each class. Right. So the lower, I'm sorry, not the lower. So the upper class limit will be the one on the right side. So I'm going to highlight those. So these values should be my upper class limit. question for me on record. So I will ask a question like, what are my lower class limit? And you should be able to give me a list. If I ask for the upper class limit, you should be able to tell me what values they are. Okay, so lower class limit is the number on the left column, on the left side, and the upper limit is the one on the right side. Okay, questions? The next one we look at is the class width. The class width is the distance between the upper and the lower limit, right? So the class width is the distance between upper and lower limit. So how do I find the class width? I will look at my number right here. It's 1 through 5. So on my upper limit is 5. Take away my lower limit, which is 1. So my class width is 4. I can test for the second one. It should give me the same thing if I test them out. So I can go for the second class, which is 10 minus 6 is also give me 4. They should have the same class width for all of my classes. So to find the class width, I'm taking the upper limit, the bigger values, minus the smaller values for each class. If I can do the next one, if it's 15 minus 11, that's give me 4 as well. This doesn't matter which one, they should have the same number. No. So other question to have for the class width. It will stay the same. It's gonna be on the same width for every single class. It's not gonna change. The last term that we look at is the range, which is the difference between the maximum and the minimum of data entry. So this one is different than the class width a little bit. The class width is we use the upper minus the lower class limit, which is here. Okay. The range is the maximum of the entire group, the highest values of the class. So in here, what value is the highest values in here? If I look at this column, what number is the highest number? I'm going to clear this one so we can see the number a little bit better. So if you look at this, what values is represent the maximum, which is the highest values of all. Look in here, so I have from 1, 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20, 21 to 25, 26 to 30. What value is the maximum? Maximum is the highest number. So someone want to guess what is the highest number if you have to look at this? Okay. So some you say 26 to 30. I'm just going to look for one number. The maximum is one number. So which one? Is this 26 or 30? Right? So some of you say 26 through 30. So this will be 30. Good. This is the highest one. The minimum is the lowest value. So let's go back. That is correct. 30 is the highest. So what is the lowest values if you still have to look at the same column? What is the lowest, which is 1? Good. So to find the range, I'm taking 30 minus 1, which give me 29. So that is the range. So that is different. The range and the class width is different in that sense. The range, I'm taking the biggest values from my data set minus the smallest one. And I can only have that one range. The class width, I'm taking a high number from the class upper limit minus a lower limit. Upper limit, lower limit. Upper limit, lower limit. Upper minus lower. So that's the difference between class width and the range. Question for me on those. Because we're going to practice this. I'm going to ask you information. We're going to look at the table. And I'm going to ask you to see if you can tell me which one is which. So, okay, so far. All right, so let's see. you're gonna start. I'm gonna want to look at, I'm gonna skip around a little bit because I wanna look at the table. Okay, so let's look at this one, okay? You can share with me in the chat if that's possible. So the first thing I'm gonna ask you is, ignore the same, I just wanna use this table. I want you to identify the lower limit. What values are my lower limit? Don't worry about the middle columns. Okay, don't worry about this. What values? If you can list out my lower limit. Okay, some of you tell me it's 7 through 18. That is not true. So let's focus on this column. Look at the class. Look on this column only. Think about the lower limit is the low values. The first number for each class. I know some of you say 7 through 79. I know what you mean, but don't say through 79. I want you to actually list out those values, because when you say 7 through 79, I'm thinking about 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which is not true. So the first one is 7. Good. What is the next values? We have 19. Good. We have 31. We have 43. Good. We have 55, 67, and then 79. Good. Right. So don't say 7 through 79. You actually list it out because these are the values represent the lower limit. Okay. We're going to look for upper limit. Upper limit. What values are my upper limit? I'm still using the same column. Can you list them out for me? Okay. So we have 18 is one of them, which is the number on the right side, right? 18. These are the values for the upper limit. Yes, that's correct. So 18, 30, 42, 54, 66, 78, and 90. Good. Thank you, Francisco, Yumna, and Hilden. And Emily and Morgan have been sharing your answers. Thank you. So upper limit is the number on the right side. Lower limit is on the numbers on the left side. Okay, so that's the difference. Any question for me on upper and lower limit? Are we okay? We good? Okay, all right. So the next one we're going to look at is we're going to look at the class width. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to clear this, these numbers because I need that space. I'm going to clear it. Okay, so we're going to look for class width. Okay, so remember the class width is the one that we will take the upper limit minus the lower limit, which is, thank you, Yumna, that is correct. So you will take the upper minus the lower. We just identify the upper and lower. We're not looking for the range yet, not yet, Francisco, we look for the class width. So the upper limit is 18, the lower limit, which is 7. So 18 minus 7 give me 11. Okay, so Yumna, that is correct. 11 is correct. Do you have to do for all of them? Probably not, because it's going to give you the same thing. So let's say if I choose this one, this class. I'm taking 66 minus 55. That would give me 11 as well. So for the class width, I'm just go ahead and choose one class. When I say a class, I mean this is a class. That is one class. Okay, this is another class. That interval, that chunk is one class. Okay, so it doesn't matter which one, if you subtract, that will give you the same value. So you don't have to do for all of them. I just need you to choose one and subtract and give me the class width. Okay, we can look for the range. The range is different than the class width. The range is going to be the maximum values minus the minimum values. So now what we need to go back and we need to identify the highest values in this data and the lowest values. Can someone tell me which are those two numbers that I'm going to use? So, whoops, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm going to clear this one so we can see all the values. Yes, Emily, that is correct. That should be 90 minus 7. So the maximum is the highest number. So I'm looking for the very last number. That's my highest. And the minimum is the very first number. Okay, so 90 minus 7 would give me 83. So the class width is 11. The range is 83. How do we feel about this? Class width, range. We have question on those because it's really easy for you to get confused between the two. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to do practice on your own. So I'm going to move a little bit to the next one. Okay. So I'm not going to ask you to, don't look at this column. Don't look at this one. Don't worry about that. We'll get to it. But right now, in Pear Deck, later on, we're going to go back. I'm going to ask you to clear your answer for this one. But right now, I want you to identify these things for me. I want you to tell me the upper limit. List them out. The lower limit. I want you to find the class width. And then I want you to find the range. Okay. So take a couple minutes. Tell me the upper limit, lower limit, class width, and the range. We for sure will go back to the slide later, and then I will ask you to clear your answer for this one. But right now, we just look at this one. We'll check in. Okay. Tara, I'm gonna put in the chat the link for Pear Deck, so you want to join. Right now, no, because I'm still teaching from this one. So I already changed to the next slide. So I will turn it to student pace at the end of class. So you can move back and forth. But right now, I cannot do that. I mean, I could, but I don't want to. Because I want you to in the same slide that I will probably move around a lot. So that way I don't want to do it. Make it easy for you, because if I move to the next slide, then you should be in the same pace of me. Okay. So Tara, yes, that's fine. Just make sure if you join Pear Deck, then that's fine. If not, there's a link I just sent for you. Okay, so let me take a look to see how you do. Okay, so let's see. Lower limit, upper limit, the range. So for the range, you just do one class and you'll be done. You don't have to worry about the rest. Okay. So Lisbeth, your lower and upper limit is correct. The range, the highest, the maximum number is correct, but the lowest, the minimum is not 40. The lowest value is not 40, okay? Yumna, that is good so far. The range, okay, that's good. Yumna, that's correct. Francisco, upper limit and lower limit is correct. They both are correct. The class width is good. Emily, let's see, upper class width range, that's correct. Thank you, Emily, that's good. Hilden, class width range is correct. For the number that you listed, can you tell me which one is the upper and which one is the lower limit? I think you sort them out correctly. I just need you to label which one is which. Yes, the lower limit is correct. That's good. No, I just want you to list out what values represent the upper limit and which values represent the lower limit. So you want to list all of them out. So I have people say lower class limit 0, 40, so on and so forth. And they say upper class limit and they give me the numbers. So Morgan, that is correct. Oscar, upper limit, lower limit, correct. Caitlin, I haven't seen the work, so I'll come back and check. Emiliano, that is correct. That is good. Okay, I have 14 of you have not responded. Let me see. Dominic. Wait, I can't see. Dominic, I saw you said R. Is that the range? Is that what you meant? Oh, okay, I see it. Okay, I see the low and the upper. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Not 200. Not 200. Okay, so I saw some of you have not done the work. 14 of you did not respond to me. Like I said, this is a check-in point. You got points for the daily participants. So if you not do any work, you most likely would not get credit from me. So if you do on a piece of paper, make sure you email that to me. If you don't, I have no idea if you did the work or not. So upper limit is 39, 79, 119, 159, 199, and 239. So that's the upper limit, so 239. And then for the lower limit is 0. A lot of you ignore that 0. It's there. You have to count it. Just because it's 0, I know, but it's part of the table, part of the data, then you must use it. So that's the lower limit, 0, 40, 80, 120, 160, and 200. So that's good. The class width is that you can choose any class, any interval. So most of you chose this one, 79 minus 40. I will take the first one because 39 minus 0, it just gives me 39. I like 0 in that sense because it's easy for me to subtract. I wouldn't want to use a big number to subtract. You totally can do it, but make it easy for you. Choose the smaller numbers. The range is the highest value, which is 239. A lot of you take 239 minus 40. 40 is not the lowest number here, right? The lowest number is 0. So the range is to 39. So upper limit, lower limit, the class width, and the range. Those are the 4 things that you should be able to recognize from the table, because we're going to go back to look at the table and use those information a lot. So you should know which one that I'm talking about. Because the next step, the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to create the frequency table. So we're going to create these things. Okay. Questions for me? All right, so let's go back. What we're going to do right now is that we're going to create the frequency table. What that means is that they will give you a list of values, and then we're going to sort this list. So you go to the next screen that you will see is the example we're going to look at. So this is going to involve a lot of steps. So this is the part where I'm going to ask you to do on a piece of paper. It's going to be much easier for you. The number I will always project it here so you can see it. So what we need to do is that we're going to we're going to put these numbers and we're going to make a table out of this list. That's what we're going to do next. Yes, it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be fun, maybe. We'll see. So number 1, we need to find the class width. So think about the frequency table. I know I'm moving it back and forth a lot of time. We need to create this column, which is the class width, right? So we need to know the class. So we need to find the class width because we need to know from what values to go to which values. We have to be able to sort them out that way. So it's important we know the class width. So that way we can identify which values is my lower limit and which value is my upper limit. So to find the class width, what you would do is step number 1, you need to identify the highest number, which is the max, and the minimum number from this data. So let's take a look. This data, there's a bunch of numbers. What is the highest values in here? So I'll give you a few seconds to scan through all the values. What is the highest number in here? We have 86, and some of us say 80. There is 86 over here. So 80 is not the highest number. So we'll take time on these problems. I'm not going to assign you a lot of work, but we'll take time. So the highest number that is correct, that is 86. We're going to minus the lowest numbers. So we're going to look for the lowest values in here, which is 7. Good. We're going to divide by the number of classes. In here, this is where we're going to go back to the instruction because they want you to have 7 classes. So Emily, Oscar, that is that the lowest number is 7. Yes, that's correct. So number of classes is given to you in the given instruction. In the instruction, they will tell you what number. So I will have to divide by 7 because they want you to have 7 classes. Okay, so this is how I'm going to find the class width. So when the table is given to you, it's nice and easy. But if they don't give you the table, we have to figure that out. That's how I find the classes. So 86 minus 7 get me 79. Divide by 7. So 79 divided by 7, this would give me 11.285. So we don't want to use decimal as class width. So we're going to round up or down depend on the decimal that we get. We want a whole number. So look over here. Let's review a little bit if my decimal is 2, do I round up or down? We can go down. If it's 5 or higher, then I will round up. So my class width will be 11. So if you run into decimal, that is okay. That is okay for you to run into decimal. But you're going to round to a whole number. It can't either go up or round down, depend on the decimal that you got. Okay? So question for me on how we find the class width from a set of data. Okay. All right, so I'm going to ask you to find, I'm going to go to the next, not this one. Okay. I want you to find the class width for this data set. So go to your Pear Deck, or you do it on a piece of paper and you want to email it to me later, your class. So I want you to find the class width for this one. I want to remind you how to find the class width is max minus minimum and divide by numbers of classes. How do you know the number of classes? Given to you in the instruction. So take a few minutes and start. So look for the highest, look for the lowest, and divide by the number of classes. So let's see what you got. All right, so that is good. I see for the one who started it, we recognize the highest number is 100, so that's good. Perfect. Go from there. Now it's a matter of look for the lowest number. Okay, cool. Divide by the number of classes which given to you in the instruction is say, I want 5 classes. So what number should you divide by? Okay. It's good. For those who responded, so I'm going to copy down what I see so far. I see we figured the highest, which is 100 minus 51. And then I saw that about half of you stop and you're not sure what to divide. So think about, it's given to you in the instruction. It's tell you, I want 5 classes. So you should divide by 5. So I see some of you divide by 5. I saw some of you divide by 32. I'm not sure why 32. Yes, Francisco, that is correct. Okay, so if I divide and you got 9.8. Now here's a question. It's 9.8. I want a whole number. So it's either I'm going to round up to 10, I'm going to round down to 9. Which is the right number should I use that I want to use? Should be 10 because you want to round up. So that should be 10. Yes. So the class width for this one is 10. Okay. So class width will look for the highest minus the lowest and divide by the number of classes. Okay. What I would do is at the end of the class, I will turn this into student pace, and then you can always go back and change and take notes. So you should be able to have this for you. So what we're gonna do next is that it's the same data set, but what we do is that we're gonna split this. We're gonna create a frequency table. So this is gonna be a lot of steps. Get a piece of paper and follow my steps, okay? Make sure you go back to Zoom and watch. what I would do. Okay, so just to remind you for this problem, this is the data set. Let's go back. Remember this one, we have the class width is 11. This is the very first assignment that we did. So the class width for this one is 11. So I'm going to put it up here. The class width is 11. We're going to use that. Okay, so we're going to fill in this table. Okay. So are we ready? Because I'm about to go over. I'm hoping that you have your paper, your pen, pencil, whatever that ready to take notes. So step number 1, we figure out the class width. So I would write this one for you. Class width. We already know it's 11. Okay. So the first thing we will do is that we're going to fill in the first column, which is the class. So step number 1, I'm going to start with the lowest value, which is 7. So I always start with the lowest values, which is 7. To get to the next number, this is not minus. This is 7 through. I'm giving this as an interval. To get to the next number, what I would do is so I start with the minimum values. So I start with the minimum values. I would take that minimum and add the class width that I just solved for, which get me 18. Remember how you find the class width? You take the upper limit minus the lower limit. That gives you the class width. Now we do the opposite. We take the lower limit, add the class width to figure out the upper class width. Not class width, I'm sorry, to figure out the upper limit. So this is the part that I'm going to highlight. I'm start with the minimum, the lowest. And I'm going to use that to move on to the next one. So I'm taking the lowest, which is 7, to get to the upper limit. So remember, this is the lower limit. This is the upper limit. Okay. I'm not going to worry about 17. We'll look at those numbers later. Right now, we just set up the classes. Yeah, we'll look at every single number later. Right now, the only thing when I'm doing this column, I'm start with the lowest number. Okay. So this will tell you any number between 7 and 18. So I'm given an interval. Okay, are we okay so far? If I'm going slow for some limits when I know, move forward. This is new, so I really want to make sure that you don't miss any steps. All right, so the next one, to go to the next class, here's the tricky part. You see how the upper limit is 18 over here? To get to the next one, it's always going to be one more here. It's going to be 19. What I'm doing right now is I sort them into classes. So it's always one more compare. So it's like a continuous, there is a pattern for you. If you think about, I'm doing zigzag, 7 through 18, and then 18, I'm going to go back to find my lower, which is one more. So this one can be confused a little bit. Question on how I got 19. How I got 19 is from here, from this number right here. It's always going to be one more. To get to the next number, to get to upper limit, once I have my lower limit to get to the upper limit, I will add with 11. So 19 plus 11, that would get me 30. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to take questions. What I'm doing right now with the class is that I just split them up into even groups. I want 7 groups, and I want to split them into even groups. Okay, so right now I have not used any number from the data set. I have not touched anything except the minimum and the maximum, that's all. So I start with the lowest one at 11 to get to my upper limit. To get to my next lower limit, I'm taking 18 plus 1. And then I continue to do the same thing. Once I get the lower limit, I always plus my class width, which is 11. Here's a question for you. Anyone want to guess what will be my next lower limit number right here? Based from what I just had for my second class. 31? Yes, Hilden, that is correct. 31. Yes, Oscar, that's correct. 31. Okay, to get to my upper limit, what do I do to get to my upper limit if I have 31? Yes, I'm going to add 11 to 31. So go ahead and add that. Whoops. 31 plus 11, that would give me 42. So we're going to continue to do it. We need 7 classes. We have 3 so far. We're going to do 4 more. Okay. So now let's do the next one. What is my next lower limit number going to be? 43. Good. Then to the upper limit, I always, to find the upper limit, I'm adding 11, right? So what would that be? 43 plus 11, 54. Good. Then I will do the next couple. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this out. So if you're not sure why I got that number, then let me know. 55 plus 11, that will give me 66. Then I will have 67 plus 11, give me 78. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I will have 79 plus 11, give me 90. So question for me on how I created the classes. The classes are these values that I have. So you mean like how I got these interval, or? I'm sorry, can you repeat that? It just was cutting you was breaking up a little bit. Can you repeat that question? Yeah. They will tell you they will tell you I want 5 classes or 4 classes. Yes, Morgan, I have no clue. I'm thinking 45, not 40. Thank you. Sorry, guys. I was thinking this class and at 45. So yes, Dominic is they will tell you how many classes. Okay. All right. So for now, we're gonna stop at this point. We'll come back. I will turn this in student pay so you can take notes. You can go back and copy what you need to copy. Yes. Have a good day. I'll see you Wednesday. Okay. Thanks, Morgan. Sorry about that. Bye, everyone. No, I will come back and finish up. So just right here, if you need to copy, I'll turn in student pay. So you need to go back and copy anything that you created it. Then you can go back and take notes. Yeah, but I will do this. You probably not know what to do yet. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. All right. Cool. You too. Thank you. Yes. Like the very first one, like the 7 right here, the very first number is the lowest number in my data set. So to the number that I highlight, that is the one that I'm just start with the lowest number from the list that given to me. So in this case, the lowest number is 7. Okay. And then to get to the upper limit, I'm taking 7 plus the class width, which is 11. So that's how I got 18. Okay. And then the next one is that you think about you do as like a Z, like a zigzag, so 7, 18, and from 18 to get to the next lower number, which is you're gonna add 1 more to get to my next lower. Yeah. So you think of this as the Z. So this is how I can think of this. So like you see how I can do, whoops, so I'm start over here and whoops, I'm going to use a different color. So you see how I do this? It's like a Z. Yeah. So it's like zigzag through. So one point to get to the next one. Okay. Cool. All right. No problem. See you Wednesday. You too. Bye-bye.